chosen one. Someone is finally waking up to the truth, so hard and humiliating that they're admitting to themselves, thinking that about you was stupid as hell. And here's the real story, nobody had the courage to expose. That's the exact energy unfolding right now. A person is sitting in the wreckage of a choice they can never undo, crushed a little more each day by the realization of what they threw away. So let's reveal what really went down, the conversations behind closed doors, the agreement made in shadows, the conspiracy meant to stay buried. By the end of this, you'll understand why regret consumes them while you rise in power. There was a conversation, a specific moment when someone you trusted sat down with another person and made an agreement about your destruction. This wasn't a misunderstanding that spiraled out of control. This was premeditated, this was calculated, this was a conspiracy with your name written all over it. The person sitting across from your betrayer was a fraud, someone who presented themselves as sophisticated, as successful, as having everything together. But underneath that polished exterior lived nothing but jealousy wearing designer clothes. This fraud knew how to perform. This fraud understood how to make emptiness look like fulfillment and mediocrity look like achievement. This fraud came with a proposition. Your standards got twisted into unreasonable demands. Your boundaries got reframed as control tactics. Every single quality that made you valuable got spun into a narrative where you became the villain holding everyone back. And the person you trusted, instead of defending you, instead of shutting down the conversation, instead of walking away, this person sat there and listened, nodded along, agreed. The fraud painted a picture that sounded convincing in the moment. You know this person is holding you back, right? You could do so much better. If the love was real, you wouldn't have all these expectations placed on you. That's how the poison got administered. That's how someone got convinced to betray their own blessing. Then came the backup plan, the safety net, the escape route. Don't worry about losing this connection. I'm here for you. We can keep this going quietly. You don't need someone pushing you to change and grow all the time. You need someone who accepts you exactly as you are right now. Translation: you need someone who will enable dysfunction, because growth requires effort, and effort feels uncomfortable. Your betrayer fell for it. In a moment of pure ego and absolute weakness, the deal got sealed with a handshake. An agreement was made to throw you under the bus. An agreement was made to stop defending you when your name came up. An agreement was made to participate in a full campaign designed to humiliate you and shatter your confidence so completely that recovery would seem impossible. While these meetings happened in shadows, while these plans got coordinated in secret, you started picking up on something. Your intuition kicked into overdrive. Your spiritual senses started going off like sirens. You couldn't name what was wrong yet, but you felt the shift coming like a storm on the horizon. You felt the energy change before any proof existed. That's how it works when you're a chosen one. Evidence isn't required to know something is wrong. The feeling hits your spirit first. The atmosphere shifted around you. Promises that used to be solid started crumbling. Communication that used to flow naturally became forced and awkward. Plans that always included you suddenly didn't anymore. You noticed promises being fulfilled for everyone except you. Enthusiasm showed up for strangers, but resentment appeared for you. Mountains moved for people barely known, while time for you mysteriously disappeared. The priorities had shifted dramatically, and you weren't anywhere near the top anymore. You started catching lies, small inconsistencies at first, details that didn't quite align, stories that changed slightly with each telling. Every time you brought up these discrepancies, an explanation materialized immediately. Always an excuse. Always a reason that made you question whether you were being too suspicious, too untrusting, too paranoid about nothing. But you weren't paranoid. You were perceptive. Paranoia sees threats that don't exist. Perception sees threats that are being deliberately hidden. You were seeing truth while others worked overtime trying to convince you to doubt your own clarity. You realized multiple faces were wearing the same mask. Different people but identical fraudulent energy. The same commitment to deception. The same dedication to your downfall. You looked around at the circle forming and recognized something crucial. These people were all reading from the same script. These people were all coordinated in this attack. And you were absolutely right. Actual meetings were happening about you. Real sit-downs where strategies got discussed for making you look unstable. Scenarios got planned specifically to provoke reactions that could be pointed to as proof you were the problem. This wasn't relationship drama. This was warfare disguised as personal conflict, and you were the target. The fraud was running sophisticated mind games. Guilt trips got weaponized to control your betrayer. If you really cared, you'd do this for me. If you really understood my situation, you'd help me remove this person causing all these problems. That's not vulnerability being expressed. That's emotional blackmail, wearing a victim costume. Your betrayer couldn't see through it, because the fraud had already poisoned perception. Being loyal to you got framed as being disloyal to them. Having standards got labeled as being judgmental. Asking for basic respect got twisted into being controlling. The entire script got flipped until wrong looked right, and right looked absolutely wrong. If this message activated your knowing, hype this video to connect with more chosen ones on this journey. Here's what the real goal was. The plan aimed to give you what some call an ego death. Not the spiritual kind where you transcend false identity. The destructive kind where confidence gets shattered so thoroughly that questioning everything you know about yourself becomes your daily reality. Public humiliation was the target. Complete isolation was the goal. Breaking you so badly that speaking up for yourself again would feel impossible. Making you internalize lies until believing you actually were the problem became your new normal. Some of you experienced partners who started treating you terribly in front of others. Jokes at your expense in group settings. Dismissal of your thoughts when you spoke. Eye rolls directed at your opinions. Private struggles shared as public entertainment. Every bit of it was calculated to make you appear small, so treating you as worthless could be justified. The belief was that pushing hard enough would cause you to break. Lying loud enough would make you doubt your own truth. Attacking long enough would force eventual surrender and acceptance of a false reality being pushed on you. Ego deaths don't happen to us. Rebirths happen instead. We're built like phoenixes rising from ashes. Every attack becomes the fire that burns away what was never meant to stay attached. Every betrayal becomes the catalyst launching us into our next level. Every attempt to bury us just plants us deeper into purpose we were created to fulfill. What looked like destruction of you was actually destruction of their own access to your blessing. What seemed like the ending of your story was just them writing themselves out of chapters they were never meant to witness. While the plan was being executed, something else was happening that nobody accounted for. The universe was collecting receipts. Screenshots started surfacing. Text messages thought to be deleted got recovered. Conversations assumed to be private became public. Witnesses who had been silent started speaking up without prompting. Truth started leaking from every direction that couldn't be plugged. You caught lies that couldn't be talked away. You found proof of things sworn to have never happened. You discovered actual locations when false locations had been claimed. The evidence became overwhelming, undeniable, and absolutely damning. Other people started connecting dots independently. Friends who had believed one version of events started noticing inconsistencies. Family members who had taken sides started seeing patterns that didn't align. The narrative that had been carefully constructed started crumbling, because lies can't withstand sustained scrutiny from multiple angles. The fraud's past caught up with speed and force. This wasn't the first time this exact scheme had been run. Previous victims came forward with eerily similar stories. Old patterns got exposed publicly. People realized this fraud had a documented history of targeting stable people, manipulating their partners, and destroying secure connections for sport. Your betrayer wasn't special to this fraud. Your betrayer was just another mark in a long series of cons. Divine justice started showing up in ways impossible to deny. Everything thrown at you boomeranged back and hit the source instead. The fraud started showing colors that couldn't be ignored anymore. The sophisticated act fell apart piece by piece. The successful image revealed itself as bottom-tier behavior, wearing an expensive mask. The person who had promised to be a safe place started making demands that felt suffocating. Your betrayer started waking up to the reality of being completely played. Every promise made by the fraud started breaking. Every guarantee expired. Every commitment evaporated into nothing. That backup plan thought to be solid, pure quicksand. Something real and irreplaceable got traded for something fake and temporary, and the difference in quality started destroying from the inside out. Comparisons began between what exists now and what existed with you. The contrast became devastating. You never manipulated. You never guilt-tripped anyone into compliance. You never weaponized emotions against people. You loved freely, with no games, no hidden agendas, no strings attached. Now existence is trapped with someone who does all of that as standard daily practice. Reputation started taking hits that couldn't be recovered from. People who used to show respect started seeing things differently. The way you had been treated became the defining thing people remembered. Character got questioned, judgment got criticized, choices got publicly examined. None of it painted a flattering picture. Then the fraud turned as well. Frauds never stop being frauds. Once usefulness in the conspiracy ended, once purpose was served, the fraud moved on to the next target. The feeling went from being chosen to being used, from feeling special to feeling stupid, from thinking victory had been achieved to understanding everything that actually mattered had been lost. Right now, at this very moment, your betrayer is being haunted by realizations that won't stop coming. Understanding piece by piece exactly what was lost when you were lost creates pain that deepens with each new awareness. The realization came that you were never the problem. Every single criticism the fraud used as poison was pure projection. Every flaw claimed to exist in you was actually describing what the fraud was actively doing. Every reason used to justify betrayal was a lie that got believed because facing truth required more courage than existed in that moment. The realization came that you were there to elevate, and staying low got chosen instead. Every challenge you presented was an opportunity for growth that got actively rejected. Every boundary you set was a chance to learn respect that got deliberately ignored. Every standard you held was an invitation to rise that got consciously declined. You were literally showing the path to becoming better, and the path of least resistance got chosen because it felt easier in the moment. The realization came that toxic patterns currently being lived in are the exact same ones you were trying to help break. Nothing changed except now you're not there helping navigate the mess. Alone in dysfunction that swallowing everything whole is the new reality. The realization came about how good things actually were with you. The way you showed up consistently. The way you loved without conditions or manipulations. The way you supported without enabling weakness. The way you challenged because you genuinely saw potential. Remembering now creates pain because understanding exists that something irreplaceable got destroyed by choice. The realization came that guilt isn't fading with time like hope suggested it would. Distance didn't ease it. New experiences didn't overshadow it. The guilt is growing stronger, not weaker. It's present when waking up. It follows through the day. It haunts attempts to sleep. No escape exists from what was done, and understanding is dawning that this regret might be carried for the rest of a lifetime. The realization came that you were the greatest blessing ever received, and you got treated like a burden to escape. You came into a life to help evolution happen, and destruction got chosen as the response. You were an angel assigned to a journey, and demons got chosen instead. You were the door to the next level, and it got slammed shut by the very hands that should have walked through it. Wanting to reach out exists now, but pride builds a prison. Wanting to apologize exists, but shame creates paralysis. Wanting to fix what got broken exists, but understanding is growing that some damage can't be undone. Some bridges once burned to ash can't be rebuilt. Some choices are permanent, and this was one of them. Doors are opening that were welded shut before. Opportunities are presenting themselves that seemed impossible before. The right people are entering your life with perfect timing. Resources are flowing from directions you didn't even know existed. Everything is aligning because you're in your season of supernatural restoration. Your name is being cleared without you having to mount a defense. Truth is speaking for itself, with a voice louder than lies ever possessed. People who believe the smear campaign are seeing evidence and issuing apologies. Your reputation is being restored in real time as the conspiracy gets publicly exposed. You don't have to say a single word. Divine justice is handling complete vindication. Attacks that should have destroyed you bounced off like hitting a force field. Lies that should have permanently ruined reputation got exposed as fiction before taking root. Traps carefully set for you. The ones who set them fell in instead. Every weapon formed against you failed because successful warfare can't be waged against someone who's divinely protected. Your circle is being completely upgraded. Real people are filling spaces where fake ones used to stand. People who actually value you, genuinely respect you, fiercely protect you, and authentically celebrate you. People who would never even consider doing what your betrayer did, because that level of disloyalty can't exist in your frequency anymore. Authentic loyalty surrounds you now, because accepting counterfeits finally stopped. Meanwhile, relationships around those who betrayed you are collapsing. People are distancing themselves, because nobody wants association with someone who operates in betrayal. Circles are shrinking rapidly. Support systems are vanishing. The exact isolation attempted against you is being experienced by them, and it's brutal. Being forced to watch your success from a distance is their new reality. Escaping seeing how well you're doing is impossible. Social media shows victories. Mutual friends mention accomplishments. Various channels carry news about achievements and new blessings. Every single time something positive about you is heard, it's a fresh reminder of what was lost and how catastrophically stupid that decision was. Here's what people don't discuss enough: what you gain from losing them. Because this wasn't just about them losing you. This was about you gaining freedom, clarity, power, and purpose you never would have accessed if presence in your life had continued. You gained truth about who this person really was. Not who you hoped would emerge, not who pretense suggested, who actually exists when the mask comes off. That knowledge is priceless. It saves you from wasting more time on someone who was never going to evolve. It protects you from future manipulation, because you've seen the full playbook. It gives you clarity that some people spend entire lifetimes chasing without ever finding. You gain proof that your intuition is never wrong. Every time something felt off, you were right. Every time deception was sensed, it was there. Every time a vibe was caught that didn't match words being spoken, you were picking up on reality. This experience taught you to trust yourself over anyone else's explanations, and that's a superpower serving you forever. You gained the ability to spot red flags instantly now. You know what manipulation looks like in its early stages. You recognize when someone's trying to isolate you from support systems. You can identify when triangulation is being used as a weapon. You see through future sob stories designed to guilt you into accepting disrespect. Your discernment got upgraded to levels that make you nearly manipulation-proof going forward. Now let me put you onto something real. Destiny Engine. I built this because I was done watching chosen ones get dragged through betrayal, isolation and attacks while their enemies strutted around unchecked. I want to help you accelerate the speed of your divine justice and step fully into your purpose. And the beauty of it, you don't even have to lift a finger. Destiny Engine takes their downfall and flips it into your rise. This isn't another meditation app. It's declassified consciousness technology, the same mind programming tools your enemies once used to install fear, competition and scarcity, re-engineered to restore your sovereignty and align you with the cooperative, upgraded operating framework. It generates personalized sequences mapped to your divine purpose. The hardest thing you'll do is put on headphones, press play, and watch your enemies keep digging their own grave. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and turn everything they did to break you into fuel for your rise. Link in the description. You gained boundaries made of steel. You know now what you will and won't tolerate, and no negotiation exists on those standards. You understand that people who truly value you don't need endless chances to treat you right. You've learned that loyalty is non-negotiable, respect is required, and authenticity is mandatory. These boundaries aren't walls. These are filters letting only high-quality energy into your space. You gain freedom from the illusion of who someone could become. You're no longer bound by potential that was never going to manifest. You're no longer imprisoned by hope that change will happen when repeated demonstrations have shown you who someone is. You're free from the exhausting cycle of waiting for transformation that isn't coming. That freedom opens space for people who are already operating at the level you deserve to receive. You gained a testimony that helps others survive similar situations. People going through comparable experiences look at you and see proof that survival is possible. Evidence exists that betrayal doesn't have to break you permanently. Witness is provided that losing people who were supposed to be permanent doesn't stop you from building a beautiful life. Your story gives hope to people who thought they couldn't make it through what you've already overcome and transcended. You gain spiritual gifts that only activate through adversity. Intuition sharpened to razor precision. Ability to read energy strengthened beyond what existed before. Connection to divine guidance deepened in profound ways. Faith in timing and justice became unshakable rock. These aren't things that develop in comfort. These are abilities emerging when you're forced to rely on something beyond what physical eyes can see. You gain self-respect that can't be compromised anymore. You know now what it feels like to choose yourself even when it hurts. You understand the power of walking away from situations that don't serve you, regardless of history or investment. You've experienced the strength required to stand alone rather than stay in toxicity for comfort. That self-respect became the foundation for every good thing entering your life since. You gained the reality that you're powerful beyond measure. If surviving their betrayal was possible, if handling their conspiracy was achievable, if exposing their lies was doable, and coming out stronger happened anyway, what can't you handle now? If losing what you thought you couldn't live without was survived and something better got built, what's impossible for you going forward? You gained evidence of your own resilience that no one can ever take away from you. There's a reason this needed to be said with this level of directness. There's a reason the gloves came off and truth got spoken without polish or softening. Too many chosen ones are walking around blaming themselves for betrayals that were never their fault. Too many are carrying shame for situations where being the victim was the reality, not being the villain. The world tells you to be quiet about what people did. Take the high road. Don't speak negatively. Forgive and forget. Move on gracefully. That advice serves the people who wronged you, not you. That advice protects betrayers from consequences and leaves victims silenced in their pain. This needed to be said this way because you needed permission to be angry. You needed validation that rage in response to betrayal is appropriate and healthy. You needed someone to tell you that spiritually bypassing the pain isn't required, pretending it didn't hurt isn't necessary, and acting like you're over it before you actually are isn't mandatory. You needed space to feel the fullness of what was done to you without being told you're being negative or holding grudges unfairly. This needed to be said this way because actions needed names attached to them. Gaslighting, manipulation, triangulation, smear campaigns, financial abuse, emotional terrorism. These aren't just relationship problems or misunderstandings. These are specific tactics used by specific types of people, and calling them exactly what they are needs to happen. Naming the demon takes away its power to operate in shadows. This needed to be said this way because other people in similar situations needed to see their experience reflected back to them. Hearing this and thinking, that's exactly what happened to me, needed to occur for someone. Validation needed to exist. That being crazy isn't the reality, overreacting isn't happening, and being alone isn't true. Confirmation needed to be provided that what was experienced was real and wrong and worthy of being called out with clarity. This needed to be said this way because the universe required a record of truth. When lies get told about you, truth needs to be spoken into existence with equal or greater force. When your name gets dragged, your side needs to be heard with clarity and power. When conspiracies form in darkness, exposure needs to happen in light with specificity and conviction that can't be dismissed. Deep knowledge exists that you were the best thing that ever happened, not one of the best things. The best, the pinnacle, the standard by which every connection coming after will be measured and found lacking. This knowledge exists in bones, in spirit, in parts of self that can't be lied to successfully. Understanding exists that this wasn't just a mistake. An act of self-sabotage so profound occurred that it altered the entire trajectory of life permanently. Loss didn't happen because things didn't work out naturally. Destruction happened because fraud convinced someone to comply, and weakness existed to follow through. That's not a mistake. That's a character failure being carried forever. Knowledge exists that the fraud was never the answer to anything. The fraud was the problem disguised as a solution. The fraud was poison disguised as medicine. The fraud was everything you were accused of being, projected onto you to hide actual nature. Knowing this now doesn't undo choices made then. Understanding exists that what you provided will never be found again. Searching can happen. Recreation can be attempted. Building something similar with someone else can be tried. But that same magic will never be captured because that magic was specific to you, to who you are, to what you brought into a life. It's gone, and personal choice is the reason it's gone. Knowledge exists that more than a relationship was lost. A blessing was lost. A covering was lost. A divine connection was lost, that was orchestrating things for good that couldn't even be seen. Prayers you prayed got lost. Protection your presence provided got removed. Favor that flowed because of proximity to you got cut off. Life is being experienced without that covering now, and the difference is devastatingly stark. Understanding exists that nobody is going to love the way you did, not with that patience, not with that authenticity, not with that depth, not with that loyalty. Knowledge exists that the way you loved was rare, and it got thrown away for common, easily accessible dysfunction that made staying comfortable in brokenness feel acceptable. Knowledge exists about proving to be exactly what you were trying to help stop. You showed a path to growth, and the response was doubling down on toxicity. You offered elevation, and regression got chosen. You provided a blueprint for better, and it got burned to stay stuck. Everything you said proved right, and that truth is unbearable to carry. Understanding exists that you were worth fighting for, and no fight happened. Worth defending, and silence prevailed. Worth choosing, and wrong got chosen instead. Whatever got told to self to justify it was a lie, and knowing it was a lie even while telling it, is the reality being lived with now. Knowledge exists that life is worse now than it was with you. Not just different, not just changed. Objectively, measurably, undeniably worse. Less peaceful, less stable, less joyful, less secure, less authentic, less everything that makes life worth living, and it's self-inflicted. The core truth being lived with now is that thinking what got thought about you was the stupidest thing that will ever be done. That reality wakes people up at night and ruins days. That knowledge can't be unlearned, can't be denied, can't be escaped no matter what distractions get created. And you know you're free. You know you're blessed. You know you dodged something that would have destroyed you if it had stayed. You know you're exactly where you need to be, with exactly who needs to be there, doing exactly what you're meant to do. You move differently now. There's a confidence in your steps that wasn't there before. Not arrogance, not ego, pure certainty about who you are and what you deserve. Your energy announces itself before you say a word. The presence you carry now commands respect automatically, because you've stopped asking for what you now require. Your voice has changed. You speak with authority that comes from knowing your worth isn't up for debate anymore. When you say no, it's final. When you set a boundary, it's non-negotiable. When you walk away, there's no looking back. You've learned that explaining yourself to people who are determined to misunderstand you is a waste of breath you no longer have available. Your standards have become unshakable. You know exactly what you bring to any table, and you're no longer sitting at tables where your value isn't recognized immediately. You're not auditioning for positions in people's lives anymore. You're not proving your worth to anyone. You're not convincing anyone why you deserve better treatment. You simply remove yourself from spaces where your quality isn't appreciated, and you do it without guilt or second guessing. Your peace has become your priority above everything else. You've learned that protecting your mental and emotional well-being isn't selfish. Removing yourself from chaos isn't running away. Choosing yourself over situations that drain you isn't abandonment. You've discovered that peace isn't just the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of alignment, and you're aligned now in ways you've never experienced before. Your discernment has reached levels that feel almost supernatural. You can walk into a situation and immediately sense what's real and what's performance. You can hear someone's words and simultaneously feel whether truth or manipulation is being spoken. You can see patterns forming before most people even notice the first sign. This gift wasn't given. This gift was earned through the painful lesson of trusting the wrong people and learning to trust yourself instead. Your capacity to love hasn't diminished, but your willingness to love the wrong people has evaporated completely. You still have that big heart. You still care deeply. You still want the best for people, but you've learned the difference between supporting someone's growth and enabling someone's dysfunction. You've mastered the art of loving people from a distance when close proximity becomes toxic. You've embraced the truth that walking away from someone doesn't mean you love them less, it means you love yourself more. Your vision for your future has expanded beyond what you thought possible. When you were stuck in that toxic situation, your dreams had a ceiling. There were things you didn't let yourself want because the life you were living couldn't accommodate them. Now that weight is gone. Now you can see clearly. Now you're dreaming bigger than you ever allowed yourself to dream before, because nothing is holding you back anymore. You're attracting opportunities that match your new frequency, jobs that appreciate your gifts and compensate accordingly, connections that reciprocate your energy instead of depleting it. Situations that add value to your life instead of subtracting peace. Everything coming toward you now is calibrated to who you've become, not who you used to accept being. Your relationship with yourself has transformed completely. You like who you see in the mirror now. Not just physically, but the person you've become through adversity. You respect the choices you made to protect yourself. You honor the boundaries you set even when pressure to break them existed. You celebrate the strength you discovered in moments when you thought you had none left. You've fallen in love with your own resilience, and that self-love is magnetic. Your next connection is going to be everything the last one wasn't. Real loyalty instead of performed loyalty, authentic support instead of conditional support, genuine respect instead of demanded respect. Someone who sees your worth without you having to prove it. Someone who protects your name in rooms you're not in. Someone who considers your peace as important as their own. This person isn't going to require you to dim your light. This person is going to celebrate how brightly you shine and will want to shine alongside you. This person isn't going to feel threatened by your strength. This person is going to be strengthened by your presence. This person isn't going to make you choose between them and your well-being. This person is going to be part of what makes your well-being possible. Your impact is going to expand beyond what you imagined. Your story is going to help people you'll never meet. Your testimony is going to give hope to someone who's about to give up. Your strength is going to inspire someone to find their own. Your willingness to speak truth is going to give someone else permission to speak their truth. You're not just healing for yourself anymore. You're healing for everyone who needs proof that surviving betrayal is possible and thriving after betrayal is guaranteed. Your legacy is being written right now, not by what happened to you, but by how you responded to what happened to you. Not by who betrayed you, but by how you refused to let that betrayal define you. Not by the conspiracy formed against you, but by the comeback you staged that nobody saw coming. People are going to remember you as the one who got knocked down and got back up stronger, the one who got counted out and came back to win, the one who everyone thought would break but instead became unbreakable. This season you just walked through wasn't punishment. This was preparation. You weren't being torn down. You were being rebuilt at a higher level. What looked like loss was actually making room for gain. What felt like endings were actually beginnings disguised in painful wrapping paper. You're standing on the other side of something that destroys most people. You're not most people. You're a chosen one. You're built different. You're covered by something they can't touch, protected by forces they can't see, guided by wisdom they don't have access to. Everything that came against you failed because it was always going to fail. You can't successfully wage war against someone who has heaven fighting on their behalf. Your betrayer will have to live with their choice forever. The fraud will continue being fraudulent until karma finishes the job it started. The silent witnesses will have to face their own cowardice eventually. But you get to walk forward into a future so bright it would blind them if they could see it. You get to build a life so beautiful it makes their regret unbearable. You get to become so successful that your name becomes synonymous with comeback stories. Your story isn't over. This was just the chapter where you learned who you really are. The next chapters are where you show the world what a chosen one looks like, where nothing is holding them back anymore. And it's going to be legendary.